Behind me here is the all-new 2024 Dodge Hornet RT. This is Dodge's first electrified vehicle, and let me tell you, I'm not mad about it. If anyone knows how to make electrification sporty, it's Dodge. Now, you're gonna say, Annika, well, it looks good and it's comfortable to sit in, but how does it drive? And I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm a big fan. It doesn't drive like a crossover, it drives a lot more like a sedan. And that's just because of the active suspension and the performance emphasis that Dodge put in this vehicle. We're driving here in Asheville. We're on mountain roads. We're up in the Appalachian Mountains, driving on tight corners, difficult roads. And this car handles them great, much better than any other CUV I've ever driven. As far as the power goes, even in this GT model, it's spiffy and it's spunky and it gets up to speed quick. We do have a 0 to 60 under 7 seconds in this car. It is the fastest 0 to 60 of any car under $30,000. And you heard that right. This car starts under $30,000, just barely at $29,995, but it does start under $30,000. Your GT is going to run from $29,000 to $35,000, and then your RT is going to start a little bit higher. As is pretty much expected with any modern SUV, of course, we have an automatic lift gate, and we have ample storage space. These rear seats, of course, fold down, but even with the rear seats up, there is plenty of space back here for luggage, suitcases, groceries, whatever you're going to be toting around with you. Now, of course, you ask, all right, so it looks good, it's comfortable to sit in, but how does it drive? Because what is a car if it doesn't drive well? And let's hop in and find out. We are now heading out in the RT. So this is our hybrid drivetrain. Immediately, the first difference I notice, it's much quieter in the cabin. Of course, being half electric motor, we're getting a lot less motor noise, a lot less just general driving noise. Very quiet drive. And we're in hybrid mode right now. So this is the most powerful mode where we are using both engines to drive. This car does have two other modes. So while our GT only had a normal drive mode and a sport mode, the sport mode giving you a little bit more pedal feel, giving you a firmer steering feel and firming up the suspension a little bit. This car also has an electric mode where we can drive on only electric power, and we have an e-save mode. Now the e-save mode is going to prioritize our gas engine, and it's going to help recharge that battery. So especially if you're on a hill going down a mountain, you're using that regenerative braking, putting it in e-save mode will help recharge that electric battery to save you from having to completely charge it up at the charging station. Now, of course, if we're using just the electric mode and we're not using the gas motor at all, the car is going to be less powerful. If you want to have that fun, you want it to be as powerful as possible, we get to drive in the hybrid mode. And you hear me say as powerful as possible, there's also a power boost. All we have to do to get that power boost is pull both of the paddle shifters, yes, paddle shifters, those things I was missing in the GT, and we get a few seconds of full power that gets us to 60 in 5.6 seconds. The fastest car in its class to 60. Immediately when I put the car even just in sport mode, we're getting more sound in the cabin, we're getting more response from the throttle, and that suspension stiffens up on us. Now with a track pack on this car, we get not just active suspension, but selectable suspension. So we're actually able to go and select how we want our suspension to feel instead of the car deciding it for you. And this car is very deceptively quick here in the RT. It's so quiet, you don't notice how quick you're going until you look down and see that speedometer. Now this car I'm driving does have the track pack, so it does have that selectable adjustable suspension, and it does come with Brembo brakes. Bigger brakes, little bit more stopping power. Now the standard brakes in the GT weren't bad. They did the job well, they just were nothing special. These brakes are a little bit special. Now you hear me say the Brembo brakes are included in the track pack, but the Brembo brakes are always included on the RT because the regenerative braking system requires those Brembos. They don't have the regenerative braking system on the standard caliber. So if you go with the RT, you will get the bigger brakes. Now these brakes do have a bit of a progressive feel. Usually with performance brakes, I'm used to them being very what we call bitey, meaning they brake hard right away. These don't do that, which if we were talking about a race car, might be a bad thing. But on a car that you're driving on the street, it's a very good thing. It means that if you have to brake hard, you can. If you have to brake hard, you have the ability to. But when you're rolling up to a stoplight, you're not going to accidentally put your passenger's face into the dashboard. I am going to pop it into all electric mode for a second here. Let's see. We have 22 miles of range. You definitely, I put my foot to the floor and we're hardly accelerating. Now we are going 60. We're not going from a standstill, but I definitely feel that power difference. So this is great if you have a short commute to work. If you're driving 10 miles to work, just pop it into electric mode, drive it to work. Maybe you can plug it in and charge it while you're at work. Now in our e-save mode, we are prioritizing our gas motor. This feels like a standard lower horsepower CUV, right? We're just running on the gas motor. If it were me, I would drive in hybrid everywhere I went. But e-save, as I mentioned, is great if you are trying to recharge that battery a little bit or save some of that battery power without plugging in. Now it does take about 2.5 hours on a 220 volt charger to charge this car, about 7.5 on a standard wall socket. It's a 15 kilowatt hour battery. So it's on the smaller side, hence why we're only getting 22 miles off of it if we're running on full electric. But having the combination of the gas and the electric means that you are not at the whim of there being chargers. If you live somewhere where there maybe aren't as many chargers, the infrastructure isn't there, or if you're going on a long road trip, you can just put gas in the car. And the hybrid system, having the electric motor, keeps your fuel mileage higher than it would be if we didn't have that system. Now, the fuel mileage on this car has not been finalized or released yet, so at least at the time that I'm filming this, so we do need to wait for that to come out. I should mention, while the RT does have that power boost mode that gets you to 60 in 5.6 seconds, its regular 0 to 60 time is actually slightly longer than the GT. And that is because this car weighs about 450 pounds more by having that electric motor. As far as handling goes, the GT handled very well for a CUV. This handles even better. The reason for that is the electric motor keeps the weight very low on the car. Whereas a gas motor is sitting high up in the engine bay, electric motors are under the car. This one is by the gas tank, so it keeps the weight low. This car as a whole is also about 1.5 inches lower than the GT, so that keeps it handling even better. I was impressed by the handling on the GT. I am even more impressed by the handling on this car. It's fun yet practical. Sure, it's not a sports car, it's not a Lamborghini, it's not a Challenger or a Charger, but this is that car that is both practical and has some of that spunk, so it allows you to get the best of both worlds. You've heard me mention a few of the packages that are available on this car. Dodge kept them easy. The Challenger and the Charger have a bunch of different performance packages and options you can choose, but Dodge wanted to keep it very simple on this car to make it easier for the consumer. So there are 4 packages that you can add. First of those is the blacktop package. This adds a black roof, blacked out badges, black mirror caps, and black wheels. Blacks out the car. Then we have the Plus package. The Plus package gives built-in navigation, wireless Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, as well as wireless charging, the option for a sunroof, and leather seats and premium Harman Kardon audio. Then we have my personal favorite, being a performance girly, the Track Pack. So the Track Pack on the GT gives you those big Brembo brakes. Now remember, here on the RT, you get the big Brembo brakes no matter what. On the RT, it is going to add your selectable suspension, so you can actually go in and choose how you want the suspension to feel. And it's going to give Alcantara lined seats with this really neat perforation pattern that gives it kind of like an ombre black and red look. The last package option is the tech package. This gives the 360-degree overhead and some additional safety features, including the lane keep assist on the highway that will actually steer for you, although you do need to keep your hands on the steering wheel. Now, the GT model is going to be released very soon. It will be a 2023 year model released this spring, starting at $29,995, so just under $30,000, and going up to $34,995, depending on the options. Pricing and customization for this car is available on Dodge's website. If you're interested in the RT, they are still finalizing some of the pricing details on it, so the customization is not available on the website quite yet. But we do know that pricing is going to range from $39,995 to $44,995. And this will be released as a 2024 year model a few months after the GT is released. The seats are very comfortable. They are heated and ventilated. As I mentioned earlier, here in the Plus, we do have leather seats. Now, one thing that I do wish, though, I would love it if I had a little bit more adjustability to sit a little lower in the car. Now, this is coming from someone who drives, hatchbacks and sedans, so I'm used to sitting lower in a car, but I have been in SUVs that allow me just a little bit more flexibility to lower the seat down just a tad more. Being 5'11", I like to sit upright, and I don't have a ton of headroom here, maybe 6 inches above my head, which is plenty. It's plenty of headroom, don't get me wrong, but it does feel, I feel a little bit higher than I do in a lot of other SUVs. Now, another thing that I noticed was my passenger side mirror, and again, this is because of how I like to sit. I do like to sit upright. I do like to be close to the steering wheel. My passenger side mirror is just barely being cut off by that A-pillar up front here. So it's not actually impeding my view, but it's a little annoying. It does feel like the mirror could be, pulled back just a little bit, that A-pillar narrowed, just so that we're not losing any field of view and that A-pillar is not distracting me from looking in that mirror. Speaking of the mirrors, we do have blind spot monitoring in this car. There is an option to either have it just be the light or to have it be the light and have a tone. Or to have the light and a tone if you were to turn on your turn signal with the car over there. We do also have our lane keep assist and active cruise. Now, active cruise is something that I am thoroughly addicted to. I love it. I have it in my daily driver. I use it everywhere. It's great in this car. Some cars you get in and that active cruise is very punchy. It either slams on the gas or slams on the brake. And we don't have that a lot here in this car. It's pretty gentle to you, which is nice. Now, the lane keep assist does work very well. It is a highway assist, so it does not drive for you. You do need to keep your hands on the steering wheel, but it's very good at keeping you centered in the lane. I myself had to have a tendency to hang a little bit to the left side of the lane, so it did get just a hair annoying when I was driving along and it's constantly kind of tweaking the steering wheel to the right a little bit, trying to get me to pull a little bit more to the right side of the lane. But that being said, I can't complain about the car, trying to get me to do what's better and trying to get me to be in the middle of the lane. Like I said, I acknowledge that I often have a tendency to drive towards the left side of the lane. I did have one instance, I think it might have just been the car catching a shadow, where I pulled up to a stop behind a car at a red light with plenty of distance and my parking sensors came on. I think the car just caught a shadow. It hasn't happened since, but that did happen. We do have the 360-degree overhead view camera for when you're parking. It's fantastic, helps you see everything that's going on around you, definitely makes things like parallel parking or backing into a spot a lot easier. Now, one thing with that camera, if we want to turn it on while the car is not in reverse, we do need to go through the infotainment system to do that. I wish there was a button. My personal vehicle does have 360-degree cameras, and I like turning them on when I'm pulling into parking spots forward, and I will turn them on to see my distance to the curb, so my parking sensors might not be coming on, which does in this car automatically trigger those cameras to come on. But I want the camera on, and in my car it's a very easy click of a button, and I wish we did have that in here because I could see it becoming a little annoying if you're trying to park, to be going through the system, and clicking vehicle and getting to the right section and then turning on that camera. Well, there we have it, the all-new Dodge Hornet, Dodge's first electrified vehicle with the hybrid transmission here in the RT. I'm very excited to see what Dodge has to bring as electrification continues onto its other models.